Hi there, welcome back to Lockdown Lessons Part 38. With me today, I've got Henry Campbell-Jones from Hornblower Business Brokers. So firstly, I just wanted to say a big hello to you, Henry.
Oh, hello, Phil, and thank you for having me on your talk.
No problem at all. So for the people that are actually watching this that don't know who you are and what Hornblower do, perhaps you could just give us a simple sort of synopsis and breakdown.
Yeah, okay. Well, I run a business brokerage, so we provide valuations for businesses and we sell businesses. We have a core market of selling precision engineering and manufacturing companies, as well as IT and managed service businesses and sort of technology businesses, as well as facilities management and construction sector businesses. They tend to turn over between 1 and 15 million in terms of giving you an idea of size, and they tend to be quite owner managed with some input from still on the day-to-day still from the shareholders. So we in selling businesses, we help people retire or sell a business to a trade buyer once they got to a certain point in their business cycle.
Fantastic. So as I mentioned earlier, this interview is called Lockdown Lessons. So what I'd be interested to find out from you, Henry, is has the appetite for buying and selling businesses sort of changed since lockdown began? And perhaps you could give us an idea of what's happened, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think firstly that there is quite a bit of appetite for buying businesses out there. There are still quite a few buyers out there with funds able to go ahead and invest in businesses. But I think it really depends on the sector that you're in. I sort of group it into sort of three areas. One, those businesses that were able to transfer pretty quickly over to remote working, providing a service pretty much from the office, and were able to really continue operating, continue generating revenue, and indeed thriving through right from the start of the lockdowns. So those businesses are still very sellable, and in good demand. The second sector, the second sort of group, are those that were affected by the lockdown, certainly, and particularly in the first lockdown when everything was shut down, even construction. And a number of those businesses after the first lockdown were actually able to get back and operating quite quickly, and they saw a rebound even in the second half of 2020. So yeah, but buyers will understand that, and that those businesses are still sellable. I think the third sector, which is more difficult at the moment, is still events and hospitality, where we're still not clear when they're going to be up and running fully. And in those cases, it's very difficult for a buyer or seller to really put figures on valuation, and what is the best direction to go in.
Fantastic, and hopefully that will change in the next few months, and it will open up that sector for everybody, which is great. Yeah. So silly question really, but is now a good time to sell a business?
Well, it's as good as any, depending on where you fall in those sort of three sort of categories that I've just mentioned. As I say, that there are plenty of buyers out there with funds or the ability to raise funds to make good offers on businesses. So yes, I think it now is as good as the time as any.
Fantastic, thank you very much. So has lockdown sort of affected business valuations, broadly speaking?
I think broadly, buyers are buying businesses that are either doing well and have done well throughout the lockdowns, or have a clear path out of the lockdown and are bound to recover in due course. So if there has been a dip in sales in 2020 and the beginning of 2021, buyers will tend to take the pandemic into consideration, and will tend to look at the figures up to the pandemic, how was the business doing up until then, and now looking at how they're coming out of the pandemic as well. And we'll take a view that, that no one's really, unless they're in a sort of desperate situation, going to accept an offer based on the 2020, 2021 results. And so I think buyers have been quite, recognizing of that, and putting together quite reasonable valuations.
Good. So sort of regarding lockdown again, then, what sort of hurdles has this presented, as lockdown presented to buyers and sellers then, Henry?
I think the main sort of hurdle that we first came across in the process of managing a sale is the not being able to meet. Often buyers or sellers will meet sort of half a dozen to a dozen prospective buyers during the process, and a lot of those meetings were not the pre-pandemic were face to face, and allowing the buyers to see the operations as well. Obviously, during lockdown, we weren't able to do that. But with technology, with Zoom, Teams, we tended to do these initial meetings via web meeting, and actually that's worked pretty well. They're always meeting face to face. You get a good feel for either party, but these meetings do take time. And if you're having sort of half a dozen or a dozen of them, actually putting them onto a web meeting for the first, you can then concentrate on having face-to-face meetings with the one or two sort of preferred bidders after that round. So actually, whilst it was a hurdle to begin with, I think it's actually shown us an alternative way of managing the sale process.
I agree, and I think a lot of us have had to adapt over the last sort of 15, 16 months significantly. And yeah, for those of us that were using Zoom before, we're probably using it more now than we were before. But I think people are making better use out of it as well, which is great. So could you give us an idea then of the top 3 mistakes? I mean, I've seen people make a lot of mistakes when buying and selling a business. Could you give us an idea of the top 3 mistakes that you've seen along the way that people tend to make?
Yeah, okay. I mean, I think the first thing is preparation, or not the mistake being not being prepared. And I think that the main thing is being able to get to show what your latest financial figures are, and having the systems in place to be able to click a button on whatever system you use, whether it be Sage, QuickBooks, Xero, to be able to get the latest reports out. Delays in answering questions from buyers on the latest financial situation will just mean that buyers will see that the business isn't being run quite so tightly as it should be. So it's being prepared and keeping the momentum on the deal and the various conversations that we're having with buyers. The second one is really lack of preparing for your succession. Many small businesses are to some extent going to be reliant on their owner, who is maybe looking to retire, exit the business. You need to be able to address how a buyer could take over the business from day one. Yes, there's going to be a handover period, but ideally you need a team or a couple of key people within the business that you can point to, who can run it day to day. And I think the acid test is, or the question to ask yourself, can you go on holiday for 2 or 3 weeks without the phone ringing? And that's the ideal situation that you need to be in. And then the third one is really valuation expectations, whether they be too high or too low. You need to have assessed what the realistic value is for your business. Ask the question, well, is that enough? And if it's not enough, address that within the business, so that it can meet, when we go to the market and ask for offers, we can get something that meets your personal needs. So there is some work to be done before going to the market to look at valuation and what you need from the deal.
Good, great answer. That's really interesting. A lot of people I speak to just feel it's purely based upon multiples of profit. And it's fascinating speaking to people like yourself, Henry, giving some more guidance around the mistakes that people made. So thank you very much for that. So if someone watching this is thinking about selling their business right now, what would be a great first step for them to take, Henry?
Well, we offer a free initial valuation and an assessment of businesses and of businesses, and for people that are looking to sell, whether now or in a few years' time, to look at valuation and the key pointers of what buyers are going to think of the business, and whether, whatever the valuation is, are there any points about the business that are going to make buyers hesitate in putting an offer forward. And we can look at how the business is run, any sort of reliance on top customers, etc., to give you an idea of whether you're ready, and what what you can expect in terms of valuation. And then hopefully that can then feed into your own personal plans and considerations, and deciding, well, what you'd like to achieve and when is the best time to sell.
Fantastic, great answer. So in terms of who your sort of ideal customer is, Henry, what would they look like, and how would you actually, and how could you actually help them?
Yeah, okay. I guess our ideal customer will fit into our sort of core sectors that we deal with. We've got a particular focus, as I said, on precision engineering and manufacturing companies, as well as IT and software and managed service types of businesses as well. As well as facilities management and general maintenance. So in terms of an ideal situation, those businesses would sort of have an element of sort of management team in place. If they're on the service side of things, they would have contracts in place with their key clients, and no reliance on the top customer. As a rule of thumb, your top customer should really represent a maximum of about sort of 15% of your overall revenue. So that's, I guess, the profile of our ideal customer.
Great, it's interesting actually. I have these conversations with business owners all the time about about over-reliance on them as a business owner, and over-reliance on their key customers, which is something you've alluded to there, which is great. So, okay, final question for you then, Henry. How can people best reach you if they want to get involved, if they want a valuation, if they want to speak to you about buying or selling a business?
Yeah, okay. Well, firstly, we have a website. It's on the board behind me, hornbler-businesses.co.uk. Our number is also up there, so feel free to call us. 0208 090 9380, or feel free to email us on ask@hornblower-businesses.co.uk.
Lovely, fantastic. And if I put in the link below, in the comments below on LinkedIn and YouTube, if I just add a link to your name, would that be a good thing to do as well?
Yes, that'd be great.
Lovely. Well, fascinating speaking to you as always, Henry. Thank you so much for your time, and yeah, catch up soon.
Okay. Thank you,
Take
Phil.
care. Bye.
Nice to meet you. Bye.